Hello? Welcome to another one of my reprise videos. I hope you like today's topic and don't forget to leave your feedback down at the comment section. Enjoy. In the past, women were treated poorly. I'm not going to get into detail how bad it was, but it was bad. And most of the time they were not given any political or economical powers, and it's always up to the men to decide what's best. Time has changed, and people everywhere are starting to believe in equal rights. However, women were not always suppressed, even though men were always physically stronger and larger. So in this video, I would like to share with you a story from one of my college professors. It is about the shift of powers between the sexes. Sadly, my drawing skills are very limited, so stick figures is all I could animate, but we do need to find a way to differentiate between a man and a woman. Therefore, I'm going to use the color blue for a man and pink for a woman's stick figure. The color used in the public toilets of Malaysia, so if you're a guy and you're in a pink room, something's wrong, get out. Okay, back to the story. Life has always found a way to prioritize survival. Back in our caveman days, men were built for gathering and hunting. After all, food at the time is one of the most inconsistent resources. And it is not like we can store extra for the future because we just don't know how yet. Which means finding food is a daily activity. The women are in charge of taking care of the young, which is also not exactly easy, but the food comes first. Without it, reproduction wouldn't even happen. So there is a dependence on the men, and when you are at the mercy of someone else, then naturally you will listen and obey him. By being in a position where men always needs to make decisions for the family, it is possible that men evolve to lean towards a more rigid, logical way of thinking. And for a woman that is usually closer to home with children to care for, they become more emotionally sensitive and empathize as well. But make no mistakes, women's intuition can be fairly accurate at times, which is a difference noticeable even now in the modern humans. Then fast forward many years later, eventually humans learned to farm, planting seeds and growing food for themselves. Men were still required to go hunting because they're just better physically built for it, so the girls will tend to the farm. As farming gets more effective, it also gets much more consistent and reliable. Now the main food source comes from the women, and thus over time they actually gain power over the men, simply because there's more of a dependence on the women for survival. This lasted a good number of years as well. But the next switch in power happens when a tool called the plow was invented. The plow is used to soften the soil to help with the farming. It is usually pulled by an animal like an ox. However, controlling the plow requires upper body strength, something that women lack, and so therefore, as you guessed it, the power shifts back to the men again because production is just better that way. In this modern era, food is not really an issue anymore for most countries. We mass produce a lot of them and also found good ways to keep them for a long period of time. And both men and women can get the food that they want so long as they work and have money. So now, money seems to be the source of survival. And at one point, it was the norm for men to go out and work for money. Women were not even given the opportunity for higher education, so men still wears the pants in the house. But since now both men and women can get the education they deserve and could both make decent amount of money, there isn't a dependence on one end like before. Equality seems to be on its way. Unfortunately, there is still some discriminations which is not exactly irrational. Imagine you're a big corporate company boss. Would you hire a male employee or a female employee to, let's say, label boxes, for example? At the surface, it seems like it's the same, but the sad truth is that females have to go through their menstruation every month, which can toy with their hormones and mess with their emotions. Also, for some, it could hurt so bad that they might need a day off, or they could get really distracted at work. Then if a woman gets pregnant, most big companies needs to provide them with maternity leave, which is a paid leave, meaning that the company is technically paying an employee that is not present. It could also feel really dangerous to send a woman overseas for a business trip rather than a man. So it would seem like it is the company's best interest to employ men, and it might also be the reason why companies might be willing to pay less for women employees. Now I feel like as long as the job gets done, the person that did it deserves equal payment no matter the gender. But at the same time, I understand the problem and I don't really know a way around the issue. Like, it's unfair that a woman needs to suffer and get unpaid if they get pregnant while the man is unaffected, when both parties should be equally responsible. Maybe the company of the man needs to cover half the cost of the maternity leave, That way there's an equal reason to be employing a male over a female. Also, one day maybe babies might be grown externally so that women do not need to carry that extra weight for 9 months plus whatever recovery period it involves. I really don't know. Let me know what you think down at the comments. With that said, if men makes more money than women in general, then there is still a balancing issue. But because of the amount of opportunities in our current modern world, it is still very possible for a woman to be higher paid, which in my opinion is still a really good thing. So this is the story I know about the shift in power between the sexes. And it is not because of the difference between physical strength or intelligence like most may think. Instead, for the most part in history, it would seem like it actually revolves around food, survival, and who is relying on who. I would say that it was unfair that women were suppressed at some point because of the ignorance of the people, but maybe this video will stop the girls from blaming the guys and the guys from thinking too much of themselves. I hope you guys enjoyed the story and that it gives you something to think about. That is all for this video. Glad you made it to the end. Again, looking forward to hearing what you think down at the comments. If you find yourself wanting to see what else I've made, please check out the channel, subscribe, and click the bell icon so that you don't miss another future upload. See you again soon.